What's up, everybody? We are back. John Delarose here, delarose.com. That's DELARROZ.com. You can go to the link in my newsletter below, I guess in the description below, to my newsletter, and you can get a free graphic novel. So sign up, get a free graphic novel, never miss a video update because you get a nice digest every week from me, and have fun. So DC is doing their event Future State, which is the same thing as Marvel Now did several years ago, where they're replacing characters with young, diverse, whatever, right? Things that nobody asked for in the DC universe. And it's going to be a thing that, of course, the all new number ones are going to sell tremendous because they're all new number ones. And you got a very weird ecosystem with that going on, and it's going to crash right away because people are not going to be interested in this sort of thing. But out of this is going to come the DC Omniverse, which has been announced, and that's what I'm really here to talk about today, because this marks an interesting move from DC in that they've slowly hired these like indie writers, and I say indie in a way that is different than, I don't know, I don't even know how to separate this stuff anymore, but they've hired these writers from, I would say, the approved indie circles over the past 10, 20 years. And the ones that make waves in Image Comics, basically, you get somebody who has a fancy Image title and they scoop them up and then claim they're the next superstar. And these guys really aren't good at writing superheroes or really even interested in writing superheroes. They're always trying to deconstruct the superhero, change it, put a new twist on it. And it invariably leads to bad superhero books. Now, as this has happened over the last 20 years, of course, editorial has shifted from people who really are diligent editors to people who are just kind of cheerleaders of these types of writers. And so you've got a lack of discipline going on at the company. And that's what, and you're wondering, where is he going with this? DC is announcing that their continuity here is going to be a, quote, looser continuity, meaning, well, if there's a mistake in Aquaman that doesn't jive with what's happening in Batman, it's an omniverse now. It's not a real universe. And so they're just doing this out of basically laziness and an inability to coordinate their titles, inability to really pay attention to stuff. Is this the right move? No. It's showing their laziness. It's showing that they've already messed things up so many times, because what happens is, the way things are now, creative teams get on books and they pretty much ignore the prior creative team or whatever, and they reference some stuff from early Crisis era from DC or from the Stan Lee era when it goes to Marvel, and they just kind of make their own continuity at this point. And then there's an event that comes along, a Infinite Crisis or a Super Duper Crisis or a Final Crisis or a Final Destination 4, right? I don't know. And those always reset the universe so that they can reset continuity, and just kind of any errors that come along that they get a letter about, they just go, oh, there was a crisis and it reset continuity. And then they don't have to think about it, right? It's been a lazy way of doing things. And since the resets are never structured and never actually have any rules to them or have any idea of where they're going with them beyond just wanting to restart with a number one for the number one issue nonsense, it always ends up failing after a couple of years. And this is where we're at now. So DC now is just saying, we're not even going to try anymore. We're not going to have editors who actually do their jobs. We're just going to let them do whatever they want. And if there's errors, it's a different universe. So this is what happens when you hire hack editors and hack writers who just don't know how to carefully preserve something that is a functioning universe. It's really sad. Now, what would I do if I were in DC's place to make this different? Because I'm a solutions-oriented guy. I know a lot of YouTubers just go out and complain, but they don't really have solutions because they're not pro writers most of the time or professionals at this sort of thing. They're usually just people who are complaining about comics. I would cut the line. And what I do is, I don't know how many titles there are now. I know when New 52 started, of course, there were 52 titles, or, who knows, there's 60, 70, 80 per month. It's too many. And they're doing it to flood the stands of comic shops that are dwindling. So pare back all the way to core titles, switch out random things, you know, that are not going to survive to graphic novels, just full graphic novels, and just release that way. I think Zenescope announced that they're solely going to graphic novel from here out, which I really applaud their forward thinking in that. And then just keep the legacy stuff that is the true classic stuff as your main line, which is Batman or Detective Comics, whatever you want to call it, Superman. And I'd just do one book. I'd cut them down from, you don't need Action Comics and Superman for real. You know, Aquaman, Green Lantern, Wonder Woman. You just have those, and you know, you have a handful of titles, which 10 titles, 20 titles, whatever, 30s and 40s probably okay too. And that way you can concentrate all your good talent that you can acquire on that and really have a perfect line. And then you have your graphic novels for the more tertiary characters, which are, you can kind of experiment with arty stuff and bring people into the fold that way. You know, you want to might groom into the next Superman writer and all that. And it becomes a lot more manageable. And it becomes much more possible for an editor-in-chief to really supervise the entire line, break down the line into, you know, several different paths, like the Bat family or whatever, and have editors under them that are all working in unison and all actually trying to work on a goal rather than just winging it. This is winging it. And what winging it's going to do is going to just let people go off the rails, and they're going to claim it makes them, quote, more creative, but it's going to really just evolve because there's not going to be as much editorial oversight. So my plan would work. It would save DC. It would make the comics great, and it would probably save the industry at the end of the day. But they're still not willing to do that. They're still clinging to that business model where they're just going to flood the stands in comic shops to make it so that there's no real competition possible other than Marvel and DC, in hopes that that's going to survive. But you know, comic shops aren't opening; they're closing. So you got to do something different. Doing the same thing over and over again with event, new number one, event, new number one, in hopes that it's different this time, is really just insanity. And I don't think that having a continuity where there's no continuity in order to just allow chaos is going to fix things. All right, let me know what you guys think about this. I know on my end, on my indie front, I have easy continuity going on because I'm running just a handful of books, which I write myself and I edit myself and I produce myself. So I know exactly where things are going. I don't have to worry about, you know, whether I forgot somebody's dead or whatever. I get to make the rules, and I'm very consistent about the rules. So I hope you'll check out my books like Flying Sparks, The Cosmic Warrior. If you missed out on those, they are available on Amazon. And I think you'll enjoy them because they have that old superhero flavor that a lot of these guys working for DC just can't seem to get at this point. All right. Hit that like and subscribe button. We'll be back.